Well, here we are. Welcome back. This is the last chapter of Midnight for Charlie Bone by Jenny Nimmo. I can't believe it seems like not so long ago the book was started, which I'm pretty sure we all know it was a long time ago. But here we are with the last chapter, The Longest Night of the Year. The newspapers reported the breaking window incident as mysterious explosions in ancient school. No one would have believed the truth even if they'd been told. Payne took Emma Tully's papers to Miss Ingledew, and when it was proved beyond a doubt that Amelia Moon was really Emma Tully, the Moons gave her up. They were mildly fond of Emma, but it was the money they would miss more than the child. Dr. Blore had paid them well to look after her. It was quite clear that Dr. Tully's signature on the adoption papers had been forged. But Miss Ingledew let that pass. She just wanted Emma, and Emma wanted nothing more than to live with her aunt forever in the wonderful house of books. On the morning after the explosions, the courtyard of Blore's Academy was a sight to behold. Glass littered the ground. Large gleaming panes, diamond bright spears, and glinting fragments of color were all covered by a fine, silvery dust that flashed and blazed in the morning sunlight. The workmen who came to clear up the mess could hardly believe their eyes. They gazed at the old stone walls and dark, gaping windows and scratched their heads. What had been going on in Blore's Academy? "I wouldn't like my boy to go to this school," said one. "Nor me," said another. "Creepy place," said a third. At number 9 Filbert Street, Macy was busy making Christmas cakes. The war between Uncle Peyton and his sisters was over. For the moment, Peyton had won a battle, but Charlie knew there'd be another. Peyton had lifted his head at last, and the U-Beam sisters were worried. Sooner or later, they would try to even the score. For a whole weekend, the rocker by the stove remained empty. Not once did Charlie see Grandma Bone, but he could feel her, seething, sulking, and brooding in her room. He didn't care. He felt quite safe. He had good friends and an uncle who wouldn't stand for any wickedness. He thought he might even buy Grandma Bone a pair of Fair Isle socks for Christmas. She certainly needed them. When his mother suggested it might be better if Charlie didn't go back to Blore's, all those bruises gave her a shock. Charlie found himself disagreeing. "Mom, I have to go back," he said, "to keep the balance." She looked puzzled. "It's difficult to explain," said Charlie. "I know there are some really nasty things going on at Blore's, but there are good things too. And I think I might be needed to kind of help out." "I see," she said. At that moment, his mother looked so wistful, Charlie longed to tell her that one day she might see his father. But he held his tongue. It was too early to raise her hopes. Instead, he asked her what she wanted for Christmas. "Oh, I forgot," she exclaimed. "Miss Ingledew is having a party, and we're all invited. It's a welcome home for Emma. Isn't that great?" She was all smiles again. The rest of the term went in a flash of feverish activity. There were plays to rehearse, exhibitions to put up, songs to practice, and concerts to arrange. Wherever you went, you couldn't get away from the humming, jangling, and thumping of music. It took Manfred and Zelda a week to recover from whatever it was that Tancred and Lysander had done to them. The surly pair were still not themselves. Manfred kept his sinister gaze on the floor, and Zelda had such bad headaches. She couldn't even play push the pencil box. Asa was his old self, however. There wasn't a hint of anything wolfish about him, except perhaps his eyes. On the last day of term, the drama department put on a production of Snow White. Macy and Charlie's mothers were in the audience, but Uncle Peyton stayed away. He felt he might not be welcome. Charlie agreed. Olivia played the wicked stepmother. She was superb. No one would have guessed that she was only 11. No one would have guessed. Oh, when she came on stage for the final curtain, the applause was deafening. Charlie found her surrounded by admirers when he went to say goodbye, but Olivia caught sight of him hovering at the edge of the crowd and called out, "See you at the party, Charlie." Miss Ingledew's party took place on the longest night of the year, 3 days before Christmas. Charlie and his family were the last to arrive, because Macy had changed her clothes 5 times before deciding to wear a mauve satin dress with frills. Grandma Bone, who was still sulking, hadn't been invited. It was surprising how many people Miss Ingledew had managed to fit into her small sitting room. Fidelio had come with his large father, and Olivia with her film star mother. Benjamin had brought Runner Bean, now completely recovered, and both his parents. Mr. Onimus had been followed by the 3 flames. The cats had refused to stay behind once they sniffed a party in the air, and after all, they had played a large part in Emma's rescue. Bottles and glasses and a great many dishes of delicious-looking food had been placed on the shop counter. Uncle Peyton helped himself to a whole plate full as he passed, and there was a certain gleam in his eye when he said, "Julia, my dear, what a wonderful cook you are." "Oh, they're just snacks," said Miss Ingledew, blushing slightly. The cozy sitting room was lit by an enormous number of candles. Tall, short, wide, and thin, they danced and flickered from every surface. Charlie noticed that all the light bulbs had been removed. Miss Ingledew wasn't taking any chances. After a while, the children decided to have their own party in the shop, because there was such a crush of talkative and over-merry adults in the sitting room. But shortly before midnight, Miss Ingledew called them all back in. She wanted to make a little speech. It didn't last long. With tears in her eyes, she thanked everyone who had helped to find her dear sister Nancy's daughter. "It was the happiest day of my life when Mr. Peyton, brought Emma to my door," she said, and then she had to sit down and blow her nose because the tears had turned into a flood. There were murmurs of sympathy and congratulation, and Emma ran to hug her, but any awkwardness was relieved by Mr. Onimus, who looked extremely smart in a fake fur waistcoat. He leapt onto a chair and said how pleased he was to have started the search for Emma, and how proud he was of his 3 cats. At this, a small disagreement broke out between Runner Bean and the Flames. But it was mostly a matter of Loki growling and griping, and soon settled by a word from Mr. Onimus. Emma Tolley made the last speech of the night. She looked a completely different girl from Amelia Moon. Her blonde hair had been tied in a bouncing ponytail. Her cheeks were flushed with excitement. It was almost as if pale Amelia hadn't been a real person at all, but a sad figure borrowed from a fairy tale. "I'm so happy," she began. "I still can't believe I'm here. I have to keep pinching myself. Before I say anything else, I just want to let everyone know I'll be going back to Bloor's Academy next term." Miss Ingledew looked up with a start. She began to rise, saying, "No," but Pain gently restrained her. I'm sorry, Auntie, Emma went on. I know I said I wouldn't, but I've changed my mind. It's a good school, after all, and I've got a really great art teacher. And Fidelio and Olivia are still there. And Charlie, of course. They're not scared of anything. Besides, she frowned almost to herself, there are things, other children, I mean, who might need me, so I'm going back. She gave a bright smile. And now I'd like to thank everyone who helped me to find out who I really was. Especially Charlie, who started it all. To Charlie, said Miss Ingledew, holding up her glass for a refill. To Charlie! Everyone cheered and raised their glasses, and somewhere a clock began to chime. It took Charlie several minutes to realize that the whole room was looking at him. His thoughts had been far away with someone else who had fallen asleep at 12 o'clock. To be continued. And there we are. The very end. The last chapter. Oh man. So good. Now I hope everyone enjoyed the book. I enjoyed reading it with you guys. Thank you so much for participating, and I appreciate all the support. So, you guys, please take a chance after this and listen to some of the other books. I have a couple chapters of other books that I'll be uploading later as well. And until next time, I'll catch you later.